try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Gotta learn to swim, you're gonna drown. People think I'm riding high, but I feel so low. I try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down.
Welcome to the Stadium Pulse, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tegan Randolph, your host for the best college football show on the face of the planet. It is a beautiful cotton candy sky here in North Dallas. We have a fantastic show loaded and ready to go for you guys. I see we got a couple people in here, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in and giving this show an opportunity, because that's all I'm ever going to ask from you to kick off the show. If you are a college football fan, give us a chance. Check out the page. There's plenty of things out there for you to watch, and I think that we are going to continue to provide the best show on the face of the planet. If you want to check out any of my personal content, you see this mustache, the Texas State shirt, and maybe you want to see what else this guy has to say. I have the handle down in the ticker below, but let me give you a table of contents of what we're going to be talking about outside of obviously the title. Oh my goodness, I didn't even realize it's not even Purdue. I had the Iowa Purdue. It's USC. What are we doing here? Oh my goodness. That's on me. Hey, listen, you're going to get the most unfiltered show of the face of the earth. I need to get a different way of saying that. You'll get the most transparent version of me on this show. I'll be honest here. We're going to talk Iowa USC. We're going to talk Pitt versus Notre Dame, the college game day, game of the week. But I want to talk about something that weirdly I'm passionate about. Weirdly, I think that it would be one of the great fixes of college football, and we're going to talk about it. It's on the title. It's in the thumbnail, so we'll probably kick that off actually to start the show. As if you did not watch the Tuesday slate, we talked about OU versus Alabama. We talked a little bit of Texas and Georgia. I thought that was a fantastic show. We talked a little bit of Marcel Reed and some chants. If you know, you know. But let's talk about the group of five, the unsung hero of college football, the backbone of college football, some would say. The group of five. The group of five needs their own playoff. It's fair to say that. And I have a long list of reasons on why the group of five needs their own playoff. Now, we have to understand one thing at the very top of the hour on equal terms, because whenever I say that the group of five needs their own playoff, I get very common responses. And the first thing we have to understand is why do we need a college football playoff for just the group of five? And for any new college football fans, I'm talking non-Power 4 conferences, non-Big 12, SEC, Big 10, ACC. Any conference outside of that is known as the group of five. That's why we talk about Tulane and South Florida to potentially make it into the 12-team playoff, because it is the top five champions in college football that get an opportunity to go to the 12-team playoff, and then the rest are the at-large. Now, to me, the root of what I say, and the reason why I say that there needs to be a group of five playoff, is rooted in the fact that I do not believe that there's 130 plus FBS teams all with the same goal of winning a national championship. Now, pause before you type away, because the common response that I was referring to, people love pointing at college basketball. People love pointing at, March Madness and how we could have a Cinderella run and all these different teams could potentially make it all the way to the finish line. We have to understand a couple of things here. Number one, I am not a believer that there is going to be a consistent FBS group of five team that will have a Cinderella run in the college football playoff. I really don't think that's going to happen. in basketball, it's such a different sport and it's such less physical, or it doesn't rely on the physicality as football. In football terms, when we're talking about the collegiate level, you could just collect like infinity stones, 350-pound linemen, and they're going to be able to move off of the South Florida defensive lineman like it's nothing. Now, I get it. It's going to be the best of the best versus the best of the best. But there's a reason why we talk about the talent discrepancy and the talent rosters with college football. There's a reason why there's a gap between the two. There is a reason why over the past 20 years, more times than not, you have to have a certain ratio of blue chippers, which is the 4 or 5 stars in the sport, to be able to compete for national championships. We're not going to see a Boise State in the world, a South Florida, a Tulane ever win a national championship. It's not going to happen. You're delusional if you think otherwise. You are like Doctor Strange going through every single scenario and you're holding on to the 1% chance, maybe even 0.1% chance, even maybe 0.0001% chance that a group of 5 team could even make it to a national championship. And a lot of times people will convince themselves, well, you know, that TCU team, they beat Michigan. That's a Big 12 program. The gap between the Big 12 programs and the group of 5, sure, maybe isn't a mile wide gap, but it's a gap for a reason. It is not just a hop and a skip away in terms of programs and talent rosters and investment. And so I think when we talk about Eli Drinkowitz, and he had a quote, and the reason why I'm bringing him up is because he made a fair point that a lot of people clown him for it, and I understand. We have now built the notion of playoff or bust, and his team just got eliminated from the college football playoff, so it kind of comes off as a little salty when you're officially eliminated from the college football playoff. You're an SEC program, and you're instantly talking about, well, why are we doing this whole playoff or bust thing? But he has a point in what he's actually saying when he says, why is it that everyone is competing for the same national championship? You're telling me UAB, go walk on their program, go check out their athletic department. And this is not a slide at UAB. You'll see the comparison and the reason why I'm picking them, and go look at what they're trying to build and truly ask them, are you guys in the business of winning national championships? Or are you in the business of doing the best that you can and developing these players and maybe getting to some bowl games, conference championships, things like that? And then you go walk over to Alabama, Auburn, I don't care. Pick a high-level team in that state and go look at their facilities and see what their goals are. Go see what they're striving to accomplish with the millions upon millions that are being invested into those programs. But we're under the notion that everyone is competing for the same national championship. That's delusional. I always use the analogy of WWE championships, and maybe you don't follow fake wrestling because it is fake, duh. But I'm talking about the tiering of championships. For a long time in college football, there used to be, lower level prizes. You were going to bowl games when bowl games actually matter. Don't ever let anyone tell you that bowl games never mattered. They mattered because they were accomplishments for different variations of different teams. Texas A&M for a long time dominated the Cotton Bowl, and that was their big crowning achievement. They weren't in the business of national championships. Many teams weren't because it was a very select group that continuously competed for national championships because they could acquire the talent to do so. So that's the number one thing that I need people to understand. But let's actually contextualize it to 2025. Let's actually put this into practice versus just saying, I guess they need a college football playoff, I guess. Well, already the college football playoff and the way that it's structured kind of screws the group of 5 in terms of revenue percentage. Let's actually speak to why the group of 5 would actually bend their knee and say, we would give up an opportunity to be on the big stage with some of the bigger programs for one of our guys to actually go do that, versus what I think would actually be pretty beneficial is building a media rights deal for them to have 12 plus teams in a race of their own to showcase the talent and the rosters that they build in the group of 5. Because if you're not tapped into group of 5 football, you're missing out. Go watch some North Texas football and you'll watch a kid who didn't even play any high school football, Drew Mestemaker, just light up teams for 500 plus yards. But I remember former Tennessee head coach Dooley I apologize if I'm butchering his last name, was fighting for this in late summer of 2024, discussing that their revenue share was not being adequate for what the group of five would really want. And I feel like a college football playoff of their own variation would fit the bill. And we talked about the lack of Cinderellas. We talked about how there's just not going to be teams that make a run, because if you wanted to go down the path and let's play devil's advocate, we get the best version of a group of five team. And we're under the new rules where it's going to be straight rankings 1 through 12. At best, maybe we could get a group of five team, maybe at the 11 or 10 seed. This is like one of the best group of five teams that we've seen. Probably one of those Cincinnati teams. That's fair. Cincinnati, before joining the Big 12, they had the Sauce Gardners of the world. They had the Desmond Ritters, great football team, and they competed against Alabama, and we saw what it was. The problem with the idea of Cinderellas in college football is that they will not be able to string along upset after upset after upset in the format of a college football playoff. I talked about this before. Boise State in the 2000s, the ones that had the beautiful trick plays to go beat Oklahoma, they are stamped as Fiesta Bowl champions. That's what they're going to be remembered by. But if they played in the Fiesta Bowl for the college football playoff, they're going to be known as second round outs, because more than likely they won the first round, glorious, incredible, super exciting, but then they're going to end up losing anyways. They're going to end their season with a loss versus ending their season punching up their weight class for a win. I don't say kick the group of five out of the 12-team playoff just because I don't want to see USF go face off against Texas Tech, though we know 9 times out of 10 the result of what that game would look like, and a lot of people hold on to the one time that USF pulls off the upset just to go get smacked around in the second round, which I understand. It's what makes college football and really college basketball so special, are those Cinderella runs. I'm here to tell you those do not exist. They will not exist. The Cinderellas that you want actually have silver helmets and a Buckeye sticker on it. Last year, by all intents and purposes, you could make an argument that by the seeding, Ohio State went on a Cinderella run. And they were able to go on string after string after string, or a string of runs, better said, and got all the way to the national championship following their loss to Michigan, not even making it to a Big Ten title opportunity. That's not the Cinderella that you wanted, but it's the one that you're going to get. Same could probably be said for like a Georgia this year or an Oregon. They're probably not going to make it to the conference championship game. They're going to be a late seed, but they're going to string along a ton of wins, maybe get to a national championship, maybe win the whole thing. That's a Cinderella that you didn't know that you were going to get. I could have told you for years at this point that this is what was going to happen. For the sake of the argument, though, as I don't want to take this for the entire show, and I appreciate anyone who would have, constructive feedback on this idea. I think if you are one that follows the group of five in 2025, I built out, based on a very quick just Google search of the top 25 for the group of five. People like to post them, and I appreciate that, because I was able to build out a bracket of a 12-team playoff for the group of five. And this will further strengthen my point, because I think another point that would be very valuable is to be able to showcase these teams on a national stage versus the best of the best, with them all fighting for something. I think you could even get a B-team crew for College Game Day to go to the bigger games here, because I frankly am of the belief that a lot of these games should be on campus, or campi, plural of campus. I think of examples where we would have USF as a 1 seed, JMU as a number 2 seed, UNT as 3, Memphis at 4, all getting a bye. Then the 12 versus 5 would be San Diego State versus East Carolina. I would watch that game. 9 and 8, Old Dominion versus Toledo. Banger of a matchup. That's an absolute banger. But the matchup of the first round would be number 11 UConn and that passing attack going against Boise State, that grit and grind type of identity that Boise State has had for 20 plus years at this point. We would have Dan Mullen in the playoff going Tulane versus UNLV. Banger. That's a banger of a match. You have Dan Mullen and John Summerall head to head, two guys that potentially could get Power 4 coaching jobs. Not to mention they would be able to go face off against Memphis, USF, UNT, and so forth. You would be able to showcase these teams. And I think you could also fix College Game Day all in one fell swoop, because you know for a fact that these teams are not going to be showcased on a national stage for College Game Day. This is a great opportunity to do so. I find more and more reasons for the group of five to have their own college football playoff than I find reasons for them to just have a one-time participant to the college football playoff that we currently have. So I turn the question to you. If you end up watching this video back or you're watching the live stream, give me your opinion on it. Are you for or against it? Because I would love to hear what the college football public has to say on a group of five playoff. Went for like about 13 minutes on that one. Not kidding when I say, when I was building out, like when you do a show like this and you start building out topics, you really do begin to realize where your passion lies on some topics. And weirdly, I put it on at the beginning of the week because I prep out all the shows ahead of time. I said, this would be a fun topic. You know, I made a TikTok about it and I got a lot of pushback from people. And I thought that would be a fun topic to just kind of elaborate and just kind of go and see where it goes. And as I'm writing out my points, I'm sitting there going, man, this would be great. This would be a perfect thing for college football to damn near fix bowl games, have something to compete for and more games for these teams to play. I understand it probably throws a wrench into most of the college football calendar, but it's a mess anyways. Let's get to some games. We got number 21 Iowa traveling to Southern California to face off against the number 17 Trojans, 2:30 Central. We got some bad weather coming to Southern California. I don't know how Iowa does it. They bring bad weather and ugly games with them. Their goal is to just lower the viewership. If you watch that Iowa-Oregon game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What's an Iowa brand of football? Oh, it's ugly. Ooh, it's nasty. It's disgusting. It is not finger looking good. I'll tell you that for free. So what is this game going to look like? What are the stakes that we have here? Iowa obviously coming off of a very emotional loss to an Oregon team that was able to beat them at their own style. And now they're having to travel across the country to face off against a USC team who has their entire season in front of them, with the following weekend, funny enough, being against Oregon, which could be kind of a mini playoff game. I mean, if USC wins that, they'll be in the playoffs. If we're looking at Oregon's resume, if they were to lose at home to USC, being a 10-2 team, that leaves them at a larger risk than probably many people were expecting for that third Big Ten team, potentially a fourth one, while USC would be stamping their trip to the college football playoff. So there's a lot of pressure on this USC team in Lincoln Riley. Honestly, you have an Iowa team that's going to be working with house money, but does that even really matter when you know that Iowa isn't a team that will take, I guess, their risks with it? I guess this is the time where if there's somehow a flea flicker, a fake punt, you could throw the kitchen sink at USC at this point, but what is a kitchen sink for Iowa? Whereas USC, what I worry for them is them playing tight, them coming in and being concerned that Iowa is going to get this into an ugly game and all these different factors baked into it. Will Lincoln Riley choke away his college football playoff opportunity? Will it die before it even gets started, if that makes sense, because you have Oregon on deck? I wrote down very simply, take the game. That is the biggest thing I can say about Iowa and USC. Which team is going to take the game? Because I said it for Iowa and Oregon. And uncharacteristically, when we look at Iowa, they kind of gave away the game. But 9 times out of 10, Iowa is a team that is going to let you make mistakes, and they're always going to capitalize on them. That's how they close the gap in the talent roster. If it is an Iowa game and you don't just blitz them and overwhelm them with your offensive talent, and based on the weather reports, it kind of leans into probably getting into another Iowa type of game. I think a lot of the casuals and people that don't watch college football, at least in 2025, look at Lincoln Riley, and then they probably last watched, I don't know, Caleb Williams go scramble around. They think Lincoln Riley, that the the air raid guy, the guy that just wants to throw the ball all over the place. He doesn't play any Big Ten football. Who's Jaden Mayava? They have a fruit at wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon, and they're not going to be able to put up points against this rough and tough Iowa team, even at home. Well, I'm here to break the news to you that USC is not the USC of the past. Is it completely perfect of what a traditional Big Ten team is? No, far from it. The defense is improved. Is it where it needs to be? Probably not. But this offense can run the damn ball. And I made an entire YouTube video talking about how Jaden Mayava fits the USC and Lincoln Riley offense better than Caleb Williams. Now pause, let me explain and elaborate. Caleb Williams and what he was great at was breaking the pocket, scrambling, improvising. That's not an offensive system, contrary to probably like Cliff Kingsbury and Johnny Manziel, where that was the system. Caleb was very good at those things. And he was also good being in the confines of the system as well. But where he felt the most free and where you got the Patrick Mahomes comparisons was him playing on the outside and creating within space. That's why we see a lot of friction, at least early in the year, for the Chicago Bears between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, because Ben Johnson wants a guy that's on time and within rhythm and playing within the confines of the offense. He wants him to color in between the lines, not on the outside. Jaden Mayava, though not as talented as Caleb Williams, that's not a news flash, that's not a shocker to virtually anybody, will play within the confines of this offense due to probably his limitations as an athlete comparative to like a generational talent like Caleb Williams. And so I think that allows for your floor and your consistency to be a lot higher than what the Lincoln Riley-led offenses with Caleb at the helm was in the early 2020s. So when you have that, I think USC is going to be in a very good position to win this game, even if it becomes an Iowa type of game. And we have proven fact that they are able to step up at home against a physical team that plays a more enlightened version or a more modernized version of what Iowa likes to do, with Michigan coming to town, and USC dominated them. I feel very confident USC gets the job done here. I think Lincoln Riley quietly, if you really pick up and read the tea leaves across the board on some of what people are saying rumors wise about him and the pressure that is on this season to perform and not just be an 8-4, 7-5 program, but to elevate to a 10-2, 9-3 program. I think this is their spot to really step up and show that their physicality can't be overwhelmed by an Iowa team that wants to shrink the game down, force you to make mistakes. They will capitalize because they're not going to make any mistakes traditionally. And though it's scary to bet all my chips in a very high pressurized spot for an Iowa team that is basically working with house money here, I'm picking USC to win and I'm picking them to cover. I think this is the USC moment, especially with it being at home. I'm feeling very comfortable in this spot, even with them being outplayed by Nebraska for about 2.5, 3.5 quarters there. I think that they're a different team at home, and I'm trusting them to win. Apologies for a little bit of dead air. Need some water. We got about 10 minutes left on today's show. We got the college game day of the week. I don't even know if this is going to last like 7 minutes. We'll get to it. I have a lot of thoughts. I don't at the same time. A lot of non-football thoughts when talking about Pitt versus Notre Dame. All right. We have college game day game of the week. Number 22 Pitt, the home team, hosting Notre Dame, number 9 in the country, 11 a.m. kick. What do we think of this game? There's a lot of noise and chatter around this game that aren't related to matchups on the field. And frankly, if anything, it's just the matchup between these two teams and the lack of the conference implications. Notre Dame, of course, being an independent team, they get to handcraft their schedule. They are not going to a conference title game. It's important to note because this is virtually their last opportunity to showcase how good of a team they are with 2 losses. If they were to win this one, they're going to be highly favored in the last 2 games of their season. I believe one of them is Syracuse. I can't remember the last one. I know they're going to be double-digit favorites, if not more, like 21 plus 3 touchdown favorites is what I'm anticipating for the rest of the year for Notre Dame. And they're not going to have a conference championship. with them being at an at-large bid, it is very important for them to show out in this game, as they're going to be favored by, I believe, 10 plus points in this one. And then you throw in the fact that Pat Narduzzi, Pitt's head coach, had a quote that I will read to you word for word, bar for bar. I would gladly get beat by 103 or 110 to 10 as long as we win the next two. He also had plenty of other things to say, so I don't want to take his full quote out of context, but for all intents and purposes, he could be joking. And frankly, with a guy like Pat Narduzzi, which if you do not follow Pitt football, or maybe you don't have any clue of the personality that is Pat Narduzzi, I mean, this is a guy that will tell you like it is. He is one that has been very vocal about poaching in the transfer portal. If you want to go see articles about that or quotes from that, just ask Google and say, Pat Narduzzi, the Pitt wide receiver turned to USC. Jordan, oh my gosh, I cannot remember. Blitnikoff winner. I feel so bad. You know what? This is going to make me actually so mad. Jordan Addison. There we go. Just look up Pat Narduzzi and Jordan Addison. He had a lot of thoughts about USC and Lincoln Riley poaching him. But Pat Narduzzi, like I said, is going to be someone that is going to tell you like it is. He's going to be someone that is not going to sugarcoat things. He's not one to talk off the record. He is going to be on record and in front of as many people as possible about his honest to God thoughts about modern college football. And it's funny to watch a lot of coaches kind of come to the realization of, man, these non-conference games really don't matter that much. And especially with the ACC race being as open as it is, and frankly, Pitt's got a brutal end of year schedule, obviously, with Notre Dame, which isn't a conference game. They will finish the year with two very difficult conference games. As much as I agree with Pat and how it really has become this playoff or bust mentality, I do think the ACC is at risk of not being in the college football playoff. I think a win against Notre Dame, of course, would do wonders. And this could easily be sarcastic. And I think a lot of people are focusing on this quote for fair reasons, but I wouldn't say it's something to really, I guess, sink your teeth into. I will say, though, as a fan and as someone that watches college football, it does kind of take some air out of the room when you're just sitting there being like, why should I care about a game if the coach doesn't even care? I get it. He's a guy that calls it like it is. I can't really fight him on it. We have 5 straight wins for Pitt when they made the quarterback change from Eli Holsting to Mason Heichnell, true freshman quarterback. He's got a 12-5 touchdown to interception, and he's had 300 plus yards 4 out of his last 5. I mentioned that for a couple of reasons. A, because it is a true freshman going against a Notre Dame defense that is still trying to find itself and still looking to play its best football since obviously the first 2 losses of the season, the second one being a blitz by Texas A&M for 40 plus points at home. They will be going on the road to face off against a passing attack that's been very good. And if you've watched Pitt football over the past 10 years, that's actually contrary to what a lot of people believe their identity is at Pitt. This is an offense that if Notre Dame's secondary has not improved and has not gotten better, they will find success. And like I've mentioned before, this is Notre Dame's big opportunity to stamp their resume. And the reason why I said at the beginning of the segment and throughout today's show that I didn't have a lot of thoughts is, frankly, Notre Dame's going to win this game, man. Call it disrespectful. Call it what you want. Pitt's not winning this. I could imagine a scenario where you have these kids sitting in the locker room. Maybe it was a competitive first half, and in the middle 8, you really lost the middle 8, which, if you don't know, is the last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half. And you sit there and you go, well, the coach said this didn't matter, so why should I be fighting tooth and nail when we got the real games coming up in the next couple of weeks? Kind of talking like this game is a preseason game. Kind of talking like you have all the rope in the world to make it to the ACC championship, even with all the losses that you have. And so you get just smacked around by Notre Dame at home, and you end up being the ACC champion. All of a sudden, you're looking at like USF and Memphis, and they're getting in front of you because you let this game just be an absolute beatdown. But I do think there is going to be some sarcasm with a guy like Narduzzi. I see that this defense for Pitt is going to get manhandled. This is the Jeremiah Love game if I've ever seen one. This is the Jajarian Price game. I don't think CJ Carr is going to have to do much. And I think this is going to be a great, I guess, stamp of approval that Notre Dame is going to be a college football playoff team. I'd be real worried if they had a close, like maybe a fraudulent type of win. What do I mean? I'm talking like a real bad call at the end of the game, kind of like Wake Forest versus Georgia Tech, that type of situation. I just don't see that happening. I see this being a game that at 11 a.m., college game days in town, it's going to get some hype, but it just really doesn't feel like it's got the juice of even Iowa, USC, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And that's not their fault. It's Pat Narduzzi's fault. I'm kidding. But I just don't see this being a super competitive game. I was frankly surprised that this game was getting the hype that it is. So obviously Notre Dame picking them double-digit wins pretty comfortably. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll wear a clown nose. I talked about it on TikTok. If I'm wrong on this, I'll wear a clown nose. I'm so confident. Probably going to put some money on it. So feeling good about that. With that being said, it is Thursday. It is dark out. I say this every single time. Why is it got to be dark out? And it is what? 6 o'clock. I hate it so much. But with that being in mind, guys, 2:30 Sunday, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, whatever Pacific. I don't feel like doing the math in my head right now. Reaction show, completely reacting to everything in week 12. I promise you, best show you'll ever see, because every single show that is coming up is going to actually be the best show of all time, because each show gets a little bit better. So if this is the greatest show of all time, where I'm checking out Jordan Addison, nameplates in the middle of the show, if I'm having some technical difficulties before the show, the next one's going to be a little bit better. So that's going to be the greatest show of all time. If you like college football, I will say this. This is all powered by Kretschmann Media. If you like sports in general, better said, and this is all powered by Kretschmann Media, we have all the coverage that you're looking for. Just go on the channels tab. If you are not the biggest college football fan and you like NBA way more, go check out Dub's Room. If you just like overall sports, NFL, college, across the board, specifically football, CEO Sports Show, we got you. But if you like college football, check out this page. I promise you, I'm going to get you subscribed sooner or later. I'm not asking for your credit or your debit information. I'm asking for a click of a button. 5 seconds of your time. I get it. Time's valuable. It would mean the world to me if you gave an opportunity to this show. But with that in mind, that was the Stadium Pulse. I appreciate everyone for watching this show. I'll see you guys next time.